Wow, I certainly was not expecting that result when I woke up this morning and turned on the news. For the record, I am not a Trump supporter by far. In fact, I voted for neither party this election. However, I must confess that I was most pleasantly relieved that Hillary didn't win the election last night. I never ever liked her, nor have I ever trusted her. And this goes, and I'm talking about going way back to the 1990s when her husband Bill was in office. Anybody out there with a keen eye could see right through that fake persona that she plays before the media and before the American people. I'm not even going to go into all her faults and her failures and the crimes she's committed over the years. It would just take too much time. But I will say this: the end result did take me by surprise. When I went to bed last night, I was more than certain that Hillary would somehow squeeze out a win in the end. Just for the record, I make it a point to tune out every election night. I just turn off my computers. I turn off my television, and the reason why is I figure why give yourself an ulcer watching the elections and be ticked off the entire night into the next day when your candidate you want to win doesn't win. Instead, you could just simply tune out the previous night and be ticked off the next morning when you find out the results, you know? But like I said, the result certainly just surprised me. I was expecting Hillary would somehow win the election in the end, but I guess when you rig a primary and piss off your constituency, you lose. And I gotta admit that seeing her sociopathic, ambitious dreams completely shattered just filled me with great joy. But now that Trump is the winner, I'm actually curious to see. Well, first off, I'm curious to see if all those celebrities who swore that they would leave the country if Trump won the election, I wonder if they're going to be following through on their promise. You know, it's time to put up or shut up, right? But now that Trump is the president elect, I've been reading all over social media and online about all these hysterics about how Trump is now going to be the new Hitler for the 21st century, how he's going to set himself up as a dictator, how he's going to round up all the Muslims and the illegal aliens, and he's going to be sending everyone into concentration camps. I've actually even read people predicting that the KKK will be conducting regular marches throughout the streets of Washington D.C. I mean, first off, you can't even get 50 white supremacists in a room together before they start fighting amongst one another, and that is if you can get 50 white supremacists together at all. But second, these hysterics are nothing new. It's nothing new to me. I've heard the same crap when Obama was first elected. I heard the same thing when George W. Bush was president. And guess what? None of those things ever happened. If you want to look at dictators, just look at history. If you read up on history, you'll know that no dictator has ever been able to take absolute power without the complete support of the military. And if our military is true to their oaths, they absolutely will not allow something like that to happen. In fact, they would be the first to arrest Trump if he ever tried something like that. But most importantly, despite all the hot air that Trump has spewed, this past year, and despite all his campaign promises to make America great again, the fact of the matter is that once Trump takes office, he's now going to have to work with Congress. And the one thing that the founding fathers made certain to include in the Constitution was a system of checks and balances to regulate each branch of the government in order to prevent abuses of power and to prevent one branch from becoming too powerful. So unless he's willing to work with the Congress or unless he's for the main part the Congress, whose job is to introduce legislation into law, the only thing the the only thing the president can do is to veto that law. And I'm not going to go through an entire civics class here, but my point is, unless he's willing to work with Congress, he's going to accomplish absolutely nothing within the next 4 years. In fact, I doubt he's even going to last 2 years. He'll probably resign and let his vice president take control. That is, unless he decides to make the Oval Office the subject of a new reality television. After all, he is an entertainer. After all, as for working with Congress, no matter who is in charge of the Senate and the House of Representatives, we all know that each individual politician is serving his or her own interest, and whatever corporation or special interest they're in the pocket of. So I really wouldn't worry too much if I were you guys. If anything, at least we know that Alec Baldwin now has a regular gig on Saturday Night Live. And I will say this one thing is certain. Over the next 4 years, the left in this country is now going to be mobilizing big time. I mean, Trump's victory is probably the best thing that's happened to them in years. I mean, if you want proof, just look no further than the 2000s when Bush was in office. I mean, the early 2000s were their gravy train. And now look at how it all came to a screeching halt once Obama was elected into office. You can certainly expect them to start organizing protests on a regular basis, and I'm sure that sorry, having a Hillary moment there, having a little coughing fit. But as I was saying, if you can expect to see the left organizing protests on a regular basis, and I'm very certain that the mainstream media will be more than happy to give them plenty of airtime, just like they did with the left when they protested against Bush. But overall, yes, the American system is flawed. We're certainly not perfect, but I do have faith in the American people, and that the American people will prevail in the end. And I guess that's all I have to say right now. I'm running out of time. So with that, good night, and God bless America.